Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. So today I wanted to show you some acoustic panels that I'm going to be putting in my new studio. These are going on the ceiling and they're approximately 4 foot by 4 foot square, 47 inches square. They're made mostly out of 1x pine material, a couple of face frames, and then some Roxol Safe and Sound sandwiched in between. The two face frames are separated by some blocking, just more 1x pine blocking. And then this is the back that we're looking at here. And so there's a support baffle on the back there with a couple of holes drilled in it there. The whole thing is just held together with some tight bond and brad nails. And you can see a little detail in the corner here on the blocking that separates the two face frames. So we end up with the sides partially exposed, so a little bit more surface area for the actual absorption. And this here, this nylon strapping, is there just to help support the Safe and Sound. The Safe and Sound is kind of floppy. We were afraid that it was going to sag and bulge. So we use this nylon strapping. That one's a little loose. We'll tighten that just to give it a little bit more tension. And in the middle there, you'll notice this is the front that we're looking at here, and there's that baffle in the middle that has a couple of 6-inch holes, and those are going to be for some integrated lighting in this panel. And then you can see there's some holes drilled in there just to remove a little bit of mass and maybe do a little bit of diffusion. I'm not sure. There's nothing mathematical about it or scientific, but all right. Well, let's take a look at the process of wrapping these things in fabric. This is something I just don't see a whole lot of detail about, so hopefully if you're looking at doing something like this, maybe this will be somewhat helpful to give you a start on figure out what you're doing. Okay, so we'll go into time-lapse mode here. So this thing is sitting face down, and we're putting on the backing material. This backing material is called cambric fabric or dust cover fabric. So it's like what you would find on the underside of your upholstered furniture. It's just I don't know, I can't remember, a polyethylene or something like that. So it's very thin, very sheer. But we just wanted something on the backing just to make sure that, or at least to get less and less particulate from the insulation released into the air. So you just kind of pull it taut and fasten it down. We did fold the edge under just because this stuff is very thin, so when we're stapling it in place here, just fold the edge under to double it up, give it a little bit more for the staples to grab onto. So now we're going to start wrapping the fabric on here. And this fabric is Guilford of Maine. This is from their Anchorage series. The color is called Onyx. You can buy it by the yard. I got this from GIK Acoustic's website. And again, we're just using staples and a staple gun. It's a pneumatic staple gun using an air compressor. And just pulling it taut and getting it all smooth and even. We're on a smooth, even work surface here on a granite countertop. And just kind of moving around and leaving the corners for last, because the corners are kind of where we kind of separate something that looks very amateurish from something that looks tidy and professional. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at doing one of these corners here. So we're going to get the fabric pulled nice and tight. And we'll go ahead and cinch it down with a couple of staples once we make sure there's no slack or anything. So we'll get all the slack taken out of it. Go ahead and hold it down with 1 or 2 staples here so it doesn't move on us. All right. And now what we're going to do is remove a square of fabric, just to remove a lot of the bulk out of this corner, because if you don't, it's a little hard to figure out what to do with all that material, and it really makes it kind of bulge out in the corner and makes it look weird. So we are going to take a square of fabric, You can kind of see right about where she's cutting, enough to fold over the top or the back, I guess, the back edge. And then we're going to go straight down the side, stop short of the bottom, and then just make a nice even square and cut that right out. It looks like she's cutting crooked, but it's just the camera angle. Get a good pair of fabric scissors if you can. We were using some not great scissors, and this fabric might as well have been Kevlar. Alright, so we'll go ahead and, again, just stay conscious of any extra slack you want to pull out of there. Fold that edge under just to get a little more material there to for the staples to hold on to, so it doesn't tear the fabric if it gets stretched or anything. We'll go ahead and tack that down with a couple of staples. And now we can take that other edge, and as we fold the excess fabric under, you kind of overshoot it and fold it a little too far, and then you can start to basically roll that fabric back, that underside that you flipped under. You can roll it back until you get just the right length and right amount of slack there. And again, just keep it pulled taut. You don't want wrinkles and sags and all that. And once you get it just right, you can tack it down with a staple. Make sure it doesn't move. And there we go. I think she's just doing a little bit of a tidying up on the corner here, and make sure you use enough staples. I think I bought a box of 1,000, so we got some to spare here. All right, now let's take a look. And I think that looks pretty darn good. I think that looks pretty professionally done. It's crisp and tidy, and it doesn't bulge in weird ways. So I'd say job well done. Okay, so what we have so far is a fairly standard acoustic panel, just a broadband absorber. In my case, I wanted to integrate lighting into them so that I didn't have to punch big holes in the ceiling, 6-inch holes for can lights in the ceiling of my studio. Instead, I wanted to integrate that lighting into the panels here. The lights that I'm using for this project are Philips Hue, and these are their slim downlights. So these I could only find in white. I'm not sure if they come in other colors. So since my panels are black, I ended up masking them off with painter's tape and then spraying them black with a rattle can, just a paint plus primer. And each of these lights connects to its own junction box. So aside from the couple of junction boxes, the other materials that I'm using here, I'm using some 14-2 with ground Romex. I'm also using a 10-hole knockout handy box as a junction box where I can tie the two lights together. For strain relief of going in and out of the junction boxes, I had originally only bought one of these, and it's the screw down clamp. And my original intent was to really only put strain relief on the one connector that the electrician was going to have to use, but once he took a look, he said, probably need strain relief on all of the knockouts that we're passing wire through. So I opted to buy just in bulk some of these plastic ones. Same idea. For hanging hardware, we'll talk about that in a bit. Aside from the push fit connectors that are already in the box, I also have some Wago. So just some 3-conductor lever wire nuts. Some all-purpose 1-inch screws. I could only find these in 1-inch. I couldn't find anything shorter. The material, the wood here is 3/4 inch thick, so it's gonna stick out the end. If you ever have to reach inside of there for any reason and you use screws that are too long, it's gonna get kind of pokey in there. This is the back of the panel, so it's laying face down right now. And so the builder had put kind of a series of holes, so let me feel for these holes. So there's 1, 2, 3 holes. We're just gonna use 2 of these, and I'm gonna use a utility knife here and just cut a little X here to expose one of these holes. And then I'm gonna use something just long and pokey. In this case, I'm just using a big long screwdriver. And I'm gonna kind of burrow a tunnel through the insulation and then take the utility box, feed this end of it down through there, get it down in there as far as I can. All right, that's about the best I can get it, so I'll have to just fish that through from the other side. And I'm gonna do my best to keep it square here. Doesn't really matter. Now, I'm gonna do the same thing for the other box. Okay, now I'm just gonna pick one side or the other to put this junction box on. I just wanted this close to the outside since these are gonna be mounted about 4 inches off the ceiling. That's not much room for the electrician to kind of get his hands in there. So let's go ahead and screw that down. All right, very good. So those are all on there nice and solid. Now I'm gonna punch out the knockouts that I'm gonna use here. So I'm gonna have one wire going from this guy into the junction box. I'm gonna have one wire going from the other junction box into this junction box. And then I'm gonna have one wire coming out of here for the electrician. Again, I know, probably could have done this in a smarter, more economical way, but this is just how I've done it on all the other panels, so I'm kind of committed at this point. So I'm just gonna knock out this one, and then I'm gonna go knock out one on the other box, and then I'm gonna knock out all 3 on this side. All right, just bend them back and forth until they come on out. Good. All right, so first I'm gonna wire this guy. So I'll go ahead and put in one of these little strain relief plugs, push my Romex through. I'm gonna give myself maybe that much slack, convince it to come this way. I'm gonna give it maybe, I'll give it maybe that much. It's better to have a little too much than a little too little. Same deal, I'll use the strain relief. I'll push this guy through. Now, same deal from the other box. And then I'm gonna go measure out 36 inches of this and leave this as a lead for electrician. All right, since this guy, I got the fancier strain relief, let me get this thing in place. Feed this guy through. Leave about the same amount of slack, and I'll clamp them down. All right, so all these guys are secure, so I'll go ahead and get these stripped back. Okay, now I'm gonna strip all of these. Okay, now it's just time to match up colors and get everybody wired together. So I'm gonna start and get all the grounds in the junction box tied together. All right, I'll tie the neutrals together. All right, get all the hots tied together. So with that all wired in, I'll go ahead and put the lid on. Okay, that's on there securely. Now we'll wire in light number 1 here. All right, there we go. Everything sits in there nicely. Now what I found with these is when you use the latch, as you latch it, yeah, it clicks, but on a few of these, it's left a little bit of play, and I didn't want it vibrating. I found that if I just bend this a little bit inwards, give it a little more force. Of course now, it doesn't want to snap, but it doesn't vibrate. There it goes. So it snapped, and it doesn't seem to vibrate, so that's good. Last thing I need is these things rattling up above my head. All right, I'm gonna go wire the other one, and then we'll be done with this thing. Okay, awesome, we're done on the back. Now I just need to flip this thing over, and we can put the lights in. Okay, I've got this thing flipped over. It's laying face up, and through the material here, I can locate my two holes for the lights. Now, my wife has done a fantastic job of pulling this fabric taut, so there's no wrinkles, there's no bunching or anything. Since I'm gonna have to cut a hole right here, I just wanna make sure to maintain this tension on the face of the fabric. So what I'm gonna do is I've got my staple gun here, and I am gonna just put a little bit of pressure in the middle of this hole and then staple it as close as I can to the edge in the 4 cardinal directions. But these staples have to be within the boundaries of where the baffle of the light is gonna be if the light's gonna cover up these staples. So it's kind of a fine line to get them close enough to the edge to hide them, but not so close that they miss completely. All right, now I'm just gonna fill in between each of these. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same to the other hole. Okay, with those in, we've maintained all the nice taut fabric and everything, so now I'm free to cut the holes in here. This is kind of the most nerve-wracking part, but I'm just gonna cut an X. Yeah, that feels horrible. This fabric is some tough stuff too. And I'm gonna make sure that I cut all the way to the edge of the hole because it's a pretty tight fit with those lights and I don't want any extra bunching or anything here. There we go. Actually, that staple missed. I'm gonna have to redo that staple real quick. Let's just get that guy out of there. There we go. Okay, for this part, I'm gonna put on a glove because I do not like touching this insulation. I'm gonna go kind of fishing in here, and I think that's the hole that I had made. Yes, so there's the other end of the plug. So let me make sure I have the little screw cap as well. Of course I don't. Where'd that thing go? Oh, it's all the way down in the hole through the board. Well, that's annoying. My needle nose pliers finally found a job in this project. All right. These are directional, so they have to be lined up in the right way here. And then there's like a screw cap that holds them together. Okay. So for this one, the only thing left to do is actually put the light in place. Oh, and I missed another staple. Let me get this guy. Okay. Get the dust and debris off of this baffle. These are just little spring-loaded things. So bend them both back. Get them in there, make sure Mr. Cord is tucked underneath. Voila. All right. Fantastic. All right, let's do this other one, then we'll be done. Okay, let's admire the work here. The material is just a little dusty. All of them have done this. It's so hard with this dark material to keep the dust off of them. Let's see if we can get another close-up of this corner. Wife did such a good job on these corners. Like, that is just tidy. She did a true professional job on it. Oh no, I missed a spot with my spray paint. Well, okay. I guess maybe I can touch that up later, or maybe we just orient this where this one is not visible. All wired up, ready to be hung. Oh yeah, and speaking of hanging, about the only thing I can show you about that. So this is what's in all four corners, and this says it's a lag screw eye, 1/4 by 3 3/4. All right, what do you say we go take a look at a couple of these that have already been hung, and you can get an idea of how these are hanging, at least in my situation. But yeah, last time you saw the studio, it was just concrete. And check this out, we got walls, we got paint, ceiling's painted, although it's painted black, so you can't really tell. It's also extremely reverberant in here, so there's more panels ready to be hung, and we have 2 panels. Oh boy, it's so dark you can't even see, can you? Okay, let me climb up on this ladder here, and we'll try to get a close-up. Can we see anything now? Kind of. So up there you can see there's that lag screw with the eye screwed into the panel. There's one like S hook, little kind of chain link thing, and then there's another lag screw screwed into the ceiling. And what's holding it in the ceiling is I don't remember what they're called. It's a toggle bolt, but it's not a bolt. It's somewhere between a zip tie and a toggle bolt. I'll put the name in a caption here so you can tell what the heck they're called. But that's what's holding it through the drywall and the ceiling. And then that little piece of chain, and then there. And then you can see we've got the wiring. This is what's in the ceiling, coming out of the ceiling. And then you can see my little pigtail there for the electrician. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna get out of this echo chamber. All right, so this is number 5 of 6. I have one more to wire up. Wife just got it all wrapped in fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then this project will be done. Well, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully this was informative if you're looking to do something similar. Hopefully this might give you a little bit of inspiration on how to pull it off. Okay, y'all, I had to record at least just a short little epilogue here because in the week and a half it took me to edit this video on my very, very slow computer, the acoustic panels have been all hooked up and they are in their permanent place, and I just had to show you. This is too good to pass up. So, for the first time, I can actually come into my studio, flip a switch, and have my integrated lighting on in the studio. I love it. Sorry it's a little blurry. The amount of light these put off, it's not just super bright, which is really what I wanted. Each of these individual lights would not have been enough to light this room, but 12 of them all together, I think they're doing a great job. But obviously my camera having a little bit of trouble focusing in this amount of light, but you can kind of get the idea. With the ceiling painted black and the black fabric on the panels, they're basically invisible to the naked eye since they're all light sources. And you walk in the door and they just disappear into the ceiling, which is amazing. And I don't know if you can tell any difference in the microphone here, the difference in reverb, but it did make a dramatic improvement. It is still way too reverberant in here. I got a couple of just random absorbers sitting here, but it's gonna take a fair amount of treatment to get the reverb in this room under control. But these absorbers, the ceiling clouds, have done more than I even expected in that respect. And once I have internet out here, since these are smart lights, I'll be able to hook them up and do all the fancy RGB color stuff and set up scenes and all that stuff. But for now, they're just on their default kind of warm white setting, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Anyways, I just wanted to show them in action to cap off this video. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, everybody. That'll do it for me this time, and I'll see you again next time.